Hey guys, this is Mitch with the Department of Bad Ideas, and I want to talk to you guys about a subject that applies to Warframe especially, but can really apply to anything in gaming. Now, this subject is control schemes. Now, this is kind of one of those things stemming off of, I was talking with a guy at the college today, and we got talking about the game. He played it back in the closed beta, and then he stopped playing, and he hasn't come back to it, and I'm trying to convince him to give it a shot again, because it's obviously since closed beta, the game has dramatically changed, gotten way better, and woo! But his main complaint was actually the control scheme in the game. He basically, around that time when he was playing, coptering became a thing, which, if you guys aren't aware of it, which I'm assuming you all are, that is, you jump in the air, while you're sprinting, then you have to slide and melee. Now, on the default controls, that involves you holding Shift, Control, W, Spacebar, and E at the same time. That's a lot of buttons. Some people can do it. I got sick of it. So, I moved around a good chunk of my controls for the game, and now I can do all that kind of stuff. And hell, if you look at if you look at Dying Light, I think I have just about every single command aside from basic movement remapped. So, yeah, there's nothing wrong with doing it. If it works better for you, do it. Why not? So, I'm going to show you guys what I'm using for, like, the default settings, and then what I'm using for my setup in particular. And hopefully I can kind of give you guys some ideas of ways to mitigate the issues you would have with the control scheme. And I'm also going to talk about a few other little things that will help you out with gaming in general, as well as Warframe. So, without further ado, talk about controls, and these need to move. So, for what I'm using, I have the Razer Nostromo. It's an older model. They've updated it a lot since then, and I believe they've reworked it. Obviously, you don't need to get one of these for gaming. I just like it because my thumb is right on this spacebar right here. It works really good for my audio software, but you can always use your standard keyboard. It's no big deal. It's the same button layout. This just moves them over, and I can macro them. Also, I've got a Razer Naga. I don't think you really need a mouse like this. This is very preferential. I do, however, believe that if you're going to do gaming, I should hold on to this camera a little better. For gaming, you should have a mouse that has these two buttons right here. I'm actually kind of frustrated with Razer right now because they don't have a Naga that has these two buttons in this position. They're back here. I don't like that. But anyways, my reason for saying that is because that gives you more buttons to work with without the excess that is all these buttons along the side. And that's my melee in Warframe, right here. That makes life so much easier, and I'll explain why in a moment. But it'll give you the option, okay, left click, right click, roll up, roll down. Then you've got two buttons right here to work with. That really helps. Just going to put these MIDI controllers away. This is my pad controller. This is my nano control. They are irrelevant in this video, so into my desk they go. Okay, so here's the keyboard right here. Yes, I know the angle is a little bit odd, but just bear with me. They'll make sense. So we're playing Warframe. Our big controls are your AWSD, your spacebar, shift to control, FR. These are actually, it's pretty ergonomic. So, I mean, you look at the default position for playing the game, it'll be about this right here. So I can move around here. Okay, melee. Interact is down here at X. That's all in good positions. This all works. It's all nice and tight. And your abilities are up here, which I haven't actually messed with because my mouse has the side buttons, and I like to use 1 through 4 on this. That just feels right for me. But that's a preference thing. Some people are really good with these here. I personally like the fact that I can go, okay, I'm running, slide, and then I can hit my thumb over here to fire off an ability and actually slide during the ability. But onto what I'm saying about the controls in particular, though, why I've got mine moved around. One of the big issues that a lot of keyboards have, a lot of standard non-gaming keyboards, is that you get ghosting. Now, what ghosting is okay, let's say I'm running, I've got sprint going, and I slide. At this point, I'm holding down 3 keys. Most keyboards, when you hit a 4th key, will start to have issues beyond that point. So in this case, W, Shift, Control, or Shift W for sprinting, jump, and then slide. Now at this point, you're holding 4 keys. Hitting your 5th key will actually cause the keyboard to ghost and you'll lose an input. Now, this isn't true for all keyboards. Like I said, there are some keyboards that handle this very well. Razer has their Black Widow series, has anti-ghosting. Logitech has a few keyboards with anti-ghosting, stuff like that. And that kind of stuff is great for when you're working with any kind of games that involve a lot of button inputs. But for Warframe in particular, that's an input you're going to be using a lot. But my recommendation to get around the issue of ghosting is to use these buttons up top. These two right here. Now, for what I personally have, the top one here is my melee, and the one below this is actually a rapid click, a rapid left click macro. This is more because this is this is an $80 mouse. Now it's about $100 because you can't buy this model anymore, and I don't want to destroy it. My roller click is already broken, so I don't want to ruin that further. So, and another way to help mitigate things a lot more too is you can use your roller up here for more than just scrolling, and it'll still function like that. You can do this in game. Personally, I have roll up as my dodge roll and roll down as reload, which is a trend that I've kind of had in my control scheme since back in the day playing Guns Online, where everything needed to be hyper streamlined because that game was about a bazillion inputs per second. That explains my habits for why, like I said, I use a mouse roller for reload. I can still hit R on the keyboard all I want. That's no big deal. That's, you know, it's there. But personally, I like being able to easily get to my reload, get to my roll without having to look at the keyboard and move my hand away from the AWSD position. Because reaching for reload, it's not bad. But if I need to interact with something, I'm kind of in an awkward position to reach for reload or reach for melee up here. And just it feels better keeping less fingers on the keyboard at a time. So that's the big thing I have for changing around the control scheme. All right, so those are my big points on using the keyboard there, at least in my opinion, with the melee related stuff. As far as the macros go, this really depends on the game. Some games let you use macros, some really don't want you to. Warframe, I believe they're fine with them. I only use a macro for the rapid left click. So if I'm using a single shot weapon, I can spam my shots really fast, which I have no trouble hitting the button really quickly as needed because I can get my hand to twitch and what they call butterfly the key. But for melee and stuff, I really need to have that speed because some of the weapon builds I do, I actually can't input fast enough. And like I said before, it's an $80 mouse. I don't want to destroy an $80 mouse. I don't make enough money to replace that. I work part-time and I go to college. I am a broke college student. So for someone like myself, setting up a macro is probably a really good idea. So, yeah, as far as equipment goes as well, obviously you get any kind of gaming-related equipment like keyboards or mice, that kind of stuff. It's only going to help you. I'm not really a good, I'm not exactly good when it comes to choosing brands for that because I'm partial to Razer. I really haven't used any other company's equipment for that because I like Synapse in particular. And their macros are really easy to set up. But I know Logitech has really good stuff they've set out there. I've seen some really oddball controllers off of the side. 6-axis did some weird stuff too with the Hydra, which I think Razer actually purchased. But there's plenty of other options for that. And of course, at the end of the day, you can always go to one of these. I mean, Warframe is a co-op game. Now, I don't think you can get the same speedy inputs on a controller, but it's not exactly a bad thing to use. I mean, Mark uses the controller for when he plays. We play together. We're doing Tower 4 Void stuff all the time, so I don't see why using a controller could be a bad thing, aside from, like I said, the really fast inputs. So that's my spiel on controls. Like I said, if you're to just sum it all up, too long didn't read, several minutes later, too long didn't read, customize your damn controls. It will make your life easier. You don't have to use what the game tells you to use. So this is Mitch with the Department of Bad Ideas, signing off.